Earlier this week, I told you about Pastor Wellington Boone. We had a clip of him on a completely unhinged, delusional anti-gay rant at the Family Research Council's Watchmen on the Wall conference. There's one other clip from that conference that I want to tell you about, and it involves Family Research Council President Tony Perkins, who wrapped up the conference. Apparently, he's like the full top-ranking bigot, so he's the one who closes the whole thing out. And he started doing fear-mongering about how pastors are going to be dragged, kicking and screaming out of their churches if the Supreme Court strikes down bans on same-sex marriage in the decision that at this point should be just weeks away. Let's take a look at the video, listen to the audio. This is Tony Perkins.
We are about to be challenged to the very core of what it means to be a Christian. If the court hands down this decision, redefining marriage for America, they're not going to come and take you dragging and kicking and screaming out of your church in the next 6 months. You might have 5 years. But let me tell you who's going to face it first. It's your folks that are sitting in the pew. Dr. Lutzer, you wrote about this in one of your recent books. You're preparing your church for persecution. We need to challenge our people.
So let's see. The 25% of America that isn't Christian, Lewis, is apparently going to overwhelm all Christian pastors and drag them kicking and screaming out of their churches. These are some incredible non-Christians.
I think if the Supreme Court is deciding on something and you are trying to convince America of something, perhaps the best way to do that, if this is a constitutional argument that is being weighed in the Supreme Court, perhaps that's what you should be arguing, right? Maybe that gay marriage is unconstitutional.
Yes, and that seemed to have sort of faded, right? I mean, they were talking about that for a while, and then the arguments became, well, what about state constitution versus federal constitution? And then now those who see the direction this is going are advancing to just arguments of religious freedom. Tony Perkins is wrong because it's quite the opposite. As a secular society, we want to keep the pastors only in the churches, only talking religion, not politics, certainly not influencing politics or political candidates, etc. We want them to stay in the churches. Tony Perkins is saying the opposite of what would happen.
Yeah, I think so. But fear-mongering is the number one tool of the ultra-religious.
Well, yeah, it's amazing how they frame it, though, right? Pushing back against Christian bigotry is discriminating against those who are Christian.
Yeah, it's they're making themselves the victim, and it's I don't think it's working.
Tony Perkins, essentially, to sum up his speech, go out there and be the best bigot that you can possibly be.